Hey guitar friends, this is Prokopis from EMP, and today I want to talk to you about a specific type of bending when playing modes and 7-note scales in general. You see, most people associate bending with playing pentatonics and blues scales and tend to forget that this technique can be used to create interest in any context, including when playing modes. I caught myself doing this a while back when I was filming the demos from my SFS modes method. I realized that even though I knew about bending in all contexts and even though I taught it to my students and could do it just fine, it didn't come as naturally to me as when playing pentatonics and blues scales. It wasn't part of my spontaneous musical language. I had to think about it and, make myself do it, which is fine. There are always parts of our playing that are not completely automated, but it's not the ideal way to express yourself when soloing. When you get to the point when musical ideas start to flow without thinking about it, that's when you are the most creative and sound the best. So as I was adding bending items on the list of improvisation tips that we study in the SFS modes course, I was honest with myself and admitted that I needed to work on this a bit more. But the good news is that when you focus and work on this specifically, it does become natural and automatic very quickly. It didn't take me long at all, and it won't take you long either. Today I'll get you started on this by talking about the first type of bends that can be played in this context. Later I'll make another video where we talk about other aspects of bending, but now we'll start with the easiest type of bends, which actually sounds very cool and fresh because it hasn't been so overused as other types of bends. And this type of bending can make your improvisation more interesting and give you many new ideas. We will talk about half-step bends in modal improvisation. Bending just a half step is very easy. You don't need too much finger strength and it's easy to control, even on a guitar with thick strings like this one. Now, did you notice how I first played the target note normally and then did the bend? That's essential for the effective practice of bends. You need to engage your ears and control it so that you're not too sharp or flat. That's unless you want to do it wrong on purpose as a special effect, but usually you want to target that half step exactly. But this brings us to a very important point. Can you use a half step bend on every note of the scale or mode? The answer in most cases is no. You have to do it at the right place, otherwise it will sound awful. I mean, okay, there are exceptions to this, but 99% of the time you want to target scale tones with your bending. So you need to make sure that both your starting note and your target note belong to the scale. Look at this diagram, for example. There are 4 obvious places where you can perform a half-step bend. There are actually a couple of more places where you can do this that are not as obvious, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But do you see the point? Whenever you have 2 notes next to each other in adjacent frets, you can apply your bending tricks easily. So, how do we apply this in a practical and musical way? To fully appreciate this next part, you need to have an idea of how the string fragment system or SFS works. You can still follow along even if you don't have any prior SFS experience, and I'll give you some links to some free resources so that you can learn more about it afterwards. As usual, my advice is to forget about box shapes and start thinking in terms of SFS for playing scales and modes, because SFS immediately gives you control over all modes in all fretboard areas, and all that without any box shape memorization. So if you haven't watched any of my SFS lessons, I have a link below for you to get the free SFS modes crash course to get you started. It's very cool and I get very positive feedback from my viewers because in it you learn to move freely around the guitar fretboard and forget about box shape memorization. So click below to get it completely free. You're going to experience some real fretboard freedom with this. But let's get back to our bends. Here's what you need to know. Half-step bends are available on SF1, 2, 4 and 5 as we saw before, at the places where you have 2 adjacent notes. This applies to all positions. Whenever you have two adjacent notes available, you can do a half-step bend. But you can also apply them to the top note of SF3A and SF3B. In this particular fingering, we only have SF3B. But in other SFS configurations, you get SF3A as well. Look at this one, for example. In this case, we happen to have all 6 possibilities on SF4, 5, 1, 2, 3A, and 3B. So if you know how to apply SFS, not only can you jump around and improvise everywhere on the fretboard, but in every area you can also have a bunch of half-step bends at your command that you can use to spice things up. Be sure to practice with backing tracks because that will help you to play the bends in tune, but also because it's fun and an effective way to practice. Okay, that's it for this lesson. I hope you enjoyed it. Click below to get SFS modes for free. And don't forget to hit like and share. And if you're watching on YouTube, I'd also appreciate it if you could leave a comment and tell me your thoughts on this. This is Prokopis from EMP. See you soon.